Hey, what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I have the announcement video for the next month-long round of Battle of the Bookish. So first and foremost, don't mind the fact that I'm sitting here in my recliner. I'm too lazy to go sit upstairs and do this. And I have my laptop right here because I was working on editing a video, so we're gonna do this. But yes, we have decided to try to do some backtracking because we missed out on the June round of Battle of the Bookish, and so we decided to basically piggyback off of the week-long readathon we did in July and do the month-long in August to then get caught back up with how our regularly scheduled week-long and month-longs run. So this readathon is going to go from August 1st to August 31st, starting at midnight in your time zone, ending at midnight in your time zone on the 31st. So it's pretty simple, honestly. I feel like that I've done this so many times that a lot of people already know how this works, but if you have not seen anything going on with this before, this is a team-based competitive readathon where you are reading books for points that equate to prompt and page points based on the books you read, and your job is to basically try to get the highest average points out of the 4 teams that we have. Every round we have a theme that is enveloped within the month-long readathons as well as the week-long ones, but the theme for this month-long readathon is bookish tropes. So the teams that we had in the week-long readathon in July are the same. They basically, they'll help us figure out who gets kind of like a little bit of a boost when it comes to the month-long readathon. So without further ado, we're going to get into the little bit more specifics and then get into the prompts for each of the teams. So in terms of the page point system, there is a list that I will show here of all of the different point values that we have for page points. You do have the ability to DNF books in this readathon. However, they are only going to be worth 5 points and you do not earn any prompt points with them unless you have a certain team ability that allows you to do that. And we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about the individual teams, what those team abilities are, but mostly for DNFs you can only earn 5 points. Now, in addition, if you do have a book that you technically started at the end of July and bring into August, as long as you have read less than 25% of the book in July, that can count for a book for August. Like, it's totally fine if you carry over a book or two, as long as they're within that 25% range completed by the time the readathon starts. In addition, at the end of the readathon, if you find that you are having a hard time finishing books, but you've read at least 75% of your book, you can still count it for the full amount of points that it would normally get, because we understand that a lot of people can have a hard time. They get into slumps, but they get really, really close to finishing a book, but they just run out of time, and so you do have the ability to get the full prompt and page points for a book that you nearly finish. And of course my battery's dying, so I need to switch to my phone. Give me a moment. Okay, there we go. So now the next thing is that we're going to go over the prompts that we have for both everyone in the readathon and then individual teams. So there are 5 prompts that all of the teams are able to use at any given time. You are only allowed to use the prompts once, in terms of like, you use it, it's done, it's over with, don't use it again kind of thing for the rest of the readathon. But there are 5 prompts that everybody gets to use no matter what team you're on, and they stay the same from round to round because it makes it easier, and they're things that we think that are really just more beneficial to our team members. So the first is to read a book that is LGBTQ+, whether that's involving characters or authors that are on the LGBTQ spectrum. Read a book in general, so very easy prompt. Read a TBR veteran, read a book with pictures, and reread a favorite book. So that, for a lot of people, is really easy. Those prompts in particular are only worth 50 points on top of your page points you would earn for your book. You don't have to include the prompt with your page points, but you have that ability to then earn more points as you go. Now, when it comes to the team prompts, each team prompt is going to be worth 100 points. So they're a little bit more higher value because they are specifically for the teams. So the first team we have is our Chosen One team. This is based on the Chosen One trope that you see a lot of times in fantasies, things like that. And like I said, each of these prompts are going to be worth 100 points. The first is Where It All Began, which is to read a book that has a prophecy involving the main character or characters, because sometimes there can be more than one character that's involved in the prophecy. Next is a seemingly normal individual, which is to read a contemporary. Next is living a seemingly normal life, which is to read a book that has the word life in the title somewhere. Next is, but suddenly it happens, and you read a book that involves some kind of an epic quest of some kind. And the final prompt is, you are the chosen one. Read a book that you think will be a 5-star read. So an anticipated 5-star read for you. Now, if you were in our week-long readathon, you will know that each of the teams had a very specific team ability that they could use once during the week. You can only use it once within the first half of the month, and then you can only use it the second time within the second half of the month. So you basically use it once within the first couple weeks, wait until after the 15th, and then you can use the ability again. For the Chosen One team, they have the ability of the one who can save them all, which is to use 2 prompts for 1 book. Typically, we only allow 1 prompt per book. So this team, though, gets the ability to use 2 prompts for 1 book. And again, they can use it once at the beginning of the month, once towards the end of the month, for a total of 2 times over the course of the month. The next team we have is the Enemies to Lovers team. So the very famous romance book trope that a lot of people really love. I personally is one of my favorites. The prompts we have are Mutual Disgust, which is to read a book that features the Enemies to Lovers trope. The second is A Shared Connection. Read a book with a dual POV. Maybe Something Happens? ? Read a romance. A Little Spark Appears. Read a book with a light source on the cover. Oh, now we're in deep. Read a book that you think you will be obsessed with. Again, kind of that 5-star anticipated board. At the very least, you just think you're going to end up falling in love with the characters or the world or whatever. Just something that you think you're going to be massively obsessed with. For the Enemies to Lovers teams, their special team ability is what normally wouldn't work, but somehow makes up for it in tension, which basically for this is using a book for a prompt it normally doesn't fit. Let's say that they have a book that is not a romance, but they want to use it for the romance prompt. They can do that. And they can, again, use that twice over the course of the month, once in the first half of the month and once in the second half. The next team is Sudden Superpowers. So this is a team where it's kind of like the character gets bitten by the radioactive spider and all of a sudden they're a superhero kind of thing. So the first prompt for them is Just Your Average Ordinary Day, which is read a book that has happy vibes. Next is Snuggled Up with Your Favorite Book, which is to read a book that makes you feel cozy. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same as happy vibes, but it just has to have cozy vibes, and then the other one just kind of makes you happy. Next is Minding Your Own Business, which is to read a book that makes you think. Next is You Start to Fall Asleep. Read a book that is over 500 pages or more. And finally, the last prompt is When Suddenly, Bam, insert power here, some kind of power you get. Read a book that involves some kind of ability, whether that's magic ability, superhero ability, something like that. It doesn't really matter. Just the character has to have some kind of ability that is different than your normal average run-of-the-mill person. Now, the Sudden Superpowers ability that they have is what's called Ability Rush. This is where they can get double points for 1 book. So let's say that they have a book that is 250 pages. Gets 50 points for the page points. They can double that by itself if they choose to, or they can then add on prompt points. So if they take one of the general prompts that everybody gets to use, 100 points total, double that, it's 200 points. However, if they decide to use one of their team prompts, so add on the 100 to the 50, so 150 points, double that, 300 points. And finally, the last team we have is the Amateur Sleuths team, our mystery-loving team. So the first prompt is A Murder Happens. Read a murder mystery. The Chase Begins. Read a thriller. Time is Running Out. Read a short book. This can be a novella, graphic novel, manga, whatever the case may be. Whatever you deem is to be kind of shorter. Find the Clues. Read a mixed media book. And solve the case. Read a book with a satisfying ending. The team ability for the Amateur Sleuths is Cops. Psh, I could solve this with my eyes closed. This is the ability to DNF the book for full points. So remember how I mentioned earlier that if you had a special team ability, you could DNF a book for full points? This is that team. So a couple other things I want to mention, the first of which is that a lot of what we will be doing is going to be on Discord. If you've not joined our Discord for the readathon, I will leave the link for it down in the description for you guys. I highly suggest you do so because that's where we're going to be hosting a lot of things in terms of Discord sprints, and that's where you will be submitting your points for your books. Basically, we'll have Discord chats where you fill all of that in for us, and then we will put it into our spreadsheet so that we keep track of it, that kind of thing. And the other thing is that I am planning on hosting sprints at some point in the month for the readathon. I'm not 100% sure when as of yet, because I have a trip at the beginning of August for about 4 days. I'm going to be out of town. And then I also go back to work at the middle of August, about like the week of the 14th. And I also am still in classes, and I start my internship this summer. So it's going to be a little touch and go. I'm going to see kind of what's going to work best for me in terms of doing sprint times. So TBD on that. Definitely check the Discord though, because I will be very likely letting everybody know then when I'm going to be doing it. But we'll kind of go from there. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I would love to answer any questions you guys have. And also there is a tab in our Discord called Ask a Master, which you can ask any of the battle masters about what exactly is going on, how things work, whatever it is. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe, become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.